a continuous interaction, an invitation to reflection, a memento, damnatio memoriis, they would say, is a form of therapy and exorcism via knowledge. President Basescu asked me to insist on the need to continuously confront, work through this traumatic past. In the same way, we should never gloss over or forget the ultimate horror of the Holocaust, equally condemned by the Romanian state. For your information, we had this commission on communism, and there was a previous commission that discussed the Holocaust in Romania, which was chaired by Nobel Prize winner Elie Wiesel. There are some in the post-communist world who still revere the alleged virtues of communism: egalitarianism, social homogeneity, social mobility, some would say, and even some economic achievements. The human price, however, I remember very vividly a statement by a Princeton historian 20 years ago in a book written about experience of communism in the 20th century. He said, human cost aside, the first 5-year plan in the Soviet Union was a success. Now, human costs aside, if you leave aside the 1 million people who died or more, it may have been a success. Probably the autobahns in Hitler's Germany were a great success, and in terms of quotas of the effects of Cyclone B gas, probably it was a success. But where are human values in all this story that Bishop Tökes spoke about? Where are the human values that people like the Marxists I mentioned here fought for? Communism's utopian goals, dictated by its attempt to create the kingdom of God here and now, which is a fundamentalist heresy. Anybody who has studied a little bit of religion, any religion linked, either Judeo-Christian or any other religion, knows that the kingdom of God is not to be attained here and now by dictate of the party. The party is not God, but the party pretended to be God, to substitute for God and impose so-called godlike types of imperatives. Was actually the result of this attempt was appallingly immense. 100 million, and this is a minimalistic figure. So those that have read enough literature on China know that the number of victims in China is at this moment considered to be over 75 million victims, dead people, and not in time of war. The victims of the Soviet terror are much higher in the figures in the Black Book. With all due respect to the Black Book, I'm a great supporter of the Black Book, but the Black Book itself is a work in progress. Like our commission's work in progress, like the museum is work in progress. The justification, always the justification was, you cannot make omelette without breaking eggs. A great liberal philosopher from whose birth we've celebrated this week 100 years, Sir Isaiah Berlin, once said that so far, quoting another person who said, but basically the idea is, so far we have seen millions and millions and millions of broken eggs, and nobody so far has tasted the omelette. That's the major problem. The omelette has not been touched by anybody. So to conclude, and I'll conclude with another great result, to respect the great Central European experience. He was, as he used to say, the absolute epitome of a neurotic Central European intellectual, Arthur Koestler. Who wrote probably the most important political novel of the 20th century, Darkness at Noon. Arthur Koestler, who, by the way, established a very close relationship, and actually he wrote the foreword, if I'm not wrong, for the masterpiece of Disenchantment from Communism, which is Whittaker Chambers' book, Witness. Arthur Koestler wrote, and I'll end up with this. It's at the beginning of his autobiography, second volume of his autobiography, The Invisible Writing. I went to communism, he quotes, it's a statement by Pablo Picasso, the great communist painter. He was great because he was a painter, not because he was a communist. Okay. And Picasso once said, I went to communism as one goes to a spring of fresh water. That's quoting Picasso. And Koestler, he put it as a motto to his autobiography. And then he added, I went to communism indeed as one goes to a spring of fresh water, and I left communism as one clambers out of a poisoned river strewn with the wreckage of flooded cities and the corpses of the drowned. The corpses of the drowned is what you've seen there. This is the legacy of communism. This is the legacy of one of the most horrendous experience in what was indeed probably the most horrendous century in the history of humanity. There are only two absolute evils in the history of the 20th century, and there's absolutely no reason to establish any kind of hierarchy or to institute what Solzhenitsyn's biographer Michael Scammell once nicely put it as the competition for the first place in the moral imagination of humanity. There is no need for a competition for the first place in the moral imagination of humanity. The moral imagination of humanity is broad enough to make room for those horrors. These were the absolute horrors, and I want to congratulate the European Parliament for the idea to promote the Prague Declaration and to promote August 23rd, the anniversary, the 70th anniversary of the atrocious, deadly embrace between the two totalitarian monsters of the 20th century, the Nazi-Soviet Pact of August 23rd, 1939, as the Day of European Conscience and Memory. This has to be recovered and this has to be protected. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. Thank you for your support. Thank you for coming, Mr. Ambassador, for being our host. Thank you to our speakers. And as Marcus Kolga said, we will see you on the Global Museum on Communism.org. Good night.